I'm summarising Everyday Memory in Older Adults, a study by Osher, Flegel and Lustig. So this study explores the cognitive principle of memory, specifically memory errors. We know that memory is constructive by nature. It incorporates a person's experiences, knowledge about the world, and their expectations. Memory errors mean a loss of or incorrect or incomplete recall of an event, a person, or knowledge about the world. The study also explored self-schemas, which is a cognitive framework comprising of impressions of the self and how they influence behaviour and a person's way of relating to the world. So we're all familiar with the concept of cognitive decline in old age, particularly when it comes to memory, and this was explored in light of the research. But exactly what is the nature of this forgetfulness, and in what ways does it tend to affect the healthy aging population in their daily lives, and to what extent? So the researchers attempted to answer the question, which memory error is an older adult likely to experience daily? And there's sufficient literature and research that addresses older adults' complaints about diminished memory, but less is known about the specific areas of everyday memory problems for this cohort. In addition to this, cognitive laboratory tests, which test the limits of cognitive ability and analyze performance, don't necessarily translate to everyday experiences and functions. So the researchers noted that there is a bit of a disconnect between the tests that we do in terms of subjective self-report measures and also objective cognitive laboratory tests that don't address the everyday problems that older people experience. And this is what the researchers tried to do in this study. The importance of the research. So it attempted to highlight areas of memory and cognition that are most vulnerable to cognitive decline in the healthy aging population. And the researchers hope that this study will be useful in creating and assessing cognitive training programs and potentially even catalyze future research into the usefulness of daily self-reporting of memory errors to assist with the monitoring of older adults for cognitive decline. So how did they do this? So the study included 105 participants between the ages of 65 to 92 years, and they used two main memory tests as central measures. The first was the Everyday Memory Questionnaire, consisting of 35 questions to measure 5 subscales of memory errors, self-reported, and the Memory Self-Efficacy Questionnaire, consisting of a self-report measure of perceived memory ability. Participants also took a number of standard cognitive laboratory tests, and demographics were also recorded. Now, they measured the frequency of memory errors within a 24-hour period reported through the EMQ, and then the relationship between the EMQ and the MSEC results were examined. And in addition to this, all of the cognitive laboratory tests and the demographics were examined in relation to these tests as well. So what did they find? Firstly, tip of the tongue errors were the most notable memory error, which suggests a potentially important aspect for future training. Overall, neither executive function nor processing speed on the cognitive laboratory tests correlated with memory errors that were reported, which indicates that if there are training efforts focused on these factors, they may be misdirected when it comes to looking at practical outcomes for the healthy aging population. MSEC and EMQ measures also were not significantly correlated, which suggests an important difference between experiences of everyday memory errors versus people's actual perception of how well they can perform memory-wise. And even with both low memory self-efficacy reported and poor performance on lab tests, these same adults didn't find that memory problems interfered with their daily life. The study used multiple different types of tests, both subjective, objective, and took demographic information, and they analysed them separately as well as the relationship between all of them. So it did provide quite a holistic data source for this study. Being a subjective measure, the researchers noted that areas most vulnerable to cognitive decline may not be reported in that questionnaire simply because they might not occur in the 24-hour period in which they were reporting. So they might just get missed. And in addition to that, if there is that environmental control by the subject, they may design their lives in a way to avoid making memory errors, which means they get missed for that reason as well. As well as this, the study didn't include a control group of younger, healthy adults, which could have helped for comparative reasons. And participants in the study were healthy and well educated, so they might not have provided the information about older adults who do experience significant disruptive memory problems in everyday life. So further study is needed to better understand this area of cognition for this cohort, but this was a really important initial study. And in addition to understanding and developing targeted training programs with this data, maintaining or preserving older adults' environments or providing continuity with memory cues could also be really an important aspect to consider for independence in later life. And finally, from a public health perspective, with an ageing population here in Australia, the need to better understand these factors and these interactions is really important. Thank you.